In the intensity of the Georgia summer, a Californian reigns supreme. Behind him, an entire field of hungry racers, ready to knock the #1 plate off his perch. It's Cameron Beaubier versus the world at 190 miles per hour. And it happens right now on FS1. Excitement is building for the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship. For 2020, it's our third round of the season. MotoAmerica Superbikes at Road Atlanta. From Brazelton, Georgia, we're at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. HONOS Superbikes up on deck. I'm Greg White, standing alongside two-time AMA champion Jason Pridmore. Now, Jason, so far this season, especially here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, it's been all Cameron Beaubier.
Yeah, right out of the truck this weekend, Greg. He was fast again Friday, fast again yesterday, obviously, and then this morning he was even quicker in warm-up. So there's a lot of long faces unless you're underneath that Yamaha attack team down there in the paddock.
Talk about quicker this morning. Cameron Beaubier, only the second rider here at the configuration we run at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta to go under a 1:24 lap time. Here's a look at the progression so far this season inside the numbers. After race 1, Cameron Beaubier had 5 points on Matthew Skoltz. By the time we got to race 3, it was 29. Then that DNF down to 9. But Jake Gagne is keeping him honest. So the question we have for the rest of the field in the HONOS Superbike class is, how do you race Cameron Beaubier?
Try to catch up to Cam, man. This guy's just super dialed in. He's feeling really good on this R1. And for me, I got to get a little more set up for me, get more laps, get more experience. And he's no joke, man. He's a Superbike champ. So we just got to keep plugging away, working hard with the crew, and we'll get there.
Try to, every time he passes you, the next corner, just try to dive it him back and just maybe try to bully him slightly, you know, because right now his speed is incredible. So maybe just, you know, try to get up front and just to hold him back for 19 laps.
You know, it's gonna definitely take some time, and the guy's been riding the same bike and for a lot of years and has a lot of experience behind him on that bike. So it's gonna take some work from everybody to catch him.
And for the rest of the HONOS Superbike field, they're looking at nothing but Cameron Beaubier's tail section. For Cameron, his eyes are forward. What can he do today? We're looking forward to finding out.
Today's race coverage is brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
See by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Last corner for Cameron Beaubier. Under the sunshine of North Georgia, Cameron Beaubier will take the win in HONOS Superbike race number 1. And he does it in comfort and style. Welcome back to Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. We're about 8 minutes away from the start of this one, so let's get right down to the racetrack with Hannah Lopa.
Well, Greg, it is incredibly hot out here on the grid. I am standing alongside our championship points leader and reigning champ, Cameron Beaubier. Cam, we have seen you so consistent nearly all season, and especially here this weekend. Is there anything that you think that you could do better in this race today?
I guess you could always be better, right? These guys, they upped the pace this morning, so yeah, we're searching too. Just got to keep the head down and yeah, see where it takes us.
All right, thank you, Cam. Let's get over to Jamie Howe.
Hannah, one accolade that Cameron Beaubier cannot claim as being able to finish all 5 races so far this season. In fact, only 2 riders inside of the top 8 in the championship point standings can say that. One of them is David Anthony. David, you're scratching at the door of the top 5. You have 3 top 6 finishing positions. How do you get there today?
Yeah, I want that top 5. I want even better than that. You know, we don't come out here to run around, you know, in positions that don't count, but like you said, it's been consistent, and now it's time to get going and move forward and mix it with these boys. They got a little bit more pace than me today, but we've made some significant changes for this one, so we'll see if it works out for us.
Consistency, the name of the game, Greg.
Yeah, it definitely is, Jason. And David Anthony is really getting a ton of track time, which we see over the course of the years. Sometimes good for him, sometimes not. But right now it's working, and he's going to need it. Very challenging road course here at Road Atlanta. 2.5 miles, built in 1970, and 8 right-handers to 5. Let's get to Suzuki track hotspots, Jason, because plenty of places to pass.
And it is hot today, Greg. So up turn 1, we're going to go up this big steep hill into the S's that are very technical, very tricky at the top. This is where I really felt yesterday Cameron had a little bit of an edge over everybody down into turn 5. That would be the last part of those S's. And then you're going to rip over to turn 7. You'll see some outbraking into 6, and then a lot of patience into 7, but getting out of there is important because it leads onto this big long back straightaway where we'll see a lot of braking down into the turn 10 area. So the fans down there are going to get a good opening lap, probably have seen some braking action down there. And then turn 12, last corner on the track, Greg, coming from a very steep hill, and then a short run to start finish line.
Tony Elias, 37 years old, has had tremendous success here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. So has Josh Herron. Are they going to have an opportunity to stand on the podium today? We're close to find it out.
Today's race coverage is brought to you by HONOS, the apparel brand that promotes talent within the adrenaline sports realm.
Welcome back to Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta here in Braselton, Georgia. Look at our starting grid. Jason Pridmore, Cameron Beaubier, your pole sitter, Skoltz, and Tony Elias.
Yep, then we have Jake Gagne, Kyle Wyman, and Bobby Fong. On back to row 3, David Anthony, who we heard from, Bradley Ward, Josh Herron. Hopefully we'll see Josh get up there a little bit more. I watched his warm-up, looked a little better this morning. Flinders, Coffey, Cam Peterson. On row 4 there, then back to row 5, Jeff May, Corey Alexander, Stefano Mesa, back to row 6, Wyman, Ashton Yates, and Danilo Lewis. And completing the grid is Joe Giannato and Jeffrey Pert. So a couple guys I'm going to keep an eye out on, obviously, are Josh Herron, who we didn't get to see really even line up yesterday. He had a problem right off the bat. I think he did maybe 2 or 3 laps, so we can see him there second in our picture. And Kyle Wyman. Kyle's got a different motor in that bike this morning. They put that in, and you saw yesterday he had a little overheating problem, so they just rather than try to diagnose things, just put a new motor in the bike, and he was able to run a little bit better this morning. So we'll see. I think those guys are going to bring something to it. We got a couple guys, Cam Peterson, Corey Alexander, a couple of our top super stock competitor guys are going to be mixing it up as well. There's a good look at Josh Herron on the number 2 BMW coming to his grid spot.
Fan favorite here, as his family is in the area. A couple local riders in the mix, as well as Ashton Yates back in 17th position. So Josh Herron looking to make amends for yesterday.
I want to see Matt Skoltz get a good start. This morning he had a pretty good pace in his practice session here on the number 11 Yamaha Westby R1. It'd be really nice to see Matthew just get a good, clean, solid start in that top 3 going up the hill, and then seeing what he can do from there.
So we're ready to get things going. HONOS Superbike, race number 2 at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. When those red lights go off in the upper left-hand part of your screen, clutches are out, and we're racing. So the mad dash to turn number 1, and it looks like a good launch from Cameron Beaubier. Beaubier, the number 1, Gets it into turn number 1. Right behind him, his teammate Jake Gagne.
And Matthew.
Skoltz got away well.
Yep, he did. He got that good start. Normally, I curse the poor guy, so that's good. I'm glad he was able to get up there with these two guys that he wants to chase. And then Kyle Wyman, another good start from the Ducati rider in 4th place there as they roll down through these S's the first time.
Here comes Cameron Beaubier into turn number 5, leading the way. Skoltz. Wow, I like Kyle Wyman. He got a good start with his Ducati as well. But for Skoltz, he's got to keep his head together. Sometimes, Jason, you meet your goal, like, I had a great start, now I can get going. He's got to stay nice and calm.
And he will. I think this is going to be a lot better spot for him. He knows he doesn't have as much hard work ahead of him as he did prior. Like in some of the other starts, we see him having to go through a bunch of guys to get to these two. Now he's already there. So let's see how that will pan out for him.
So it's Cameron Beaubier from Jake Gagne, and then Matthew Skoltz, Kyle Wyman, and it looks like Bobby Fong in 5th place. Boy, Jake Gagne's looking really good, close to his teammate Cameron Beaubier on these opening laps. We saw him rough Cameron up lap 1 yesterday. Down into turn 12 they go. And just behind Bobby Fong, M4 X-Star Suzuki, is his teammate Tony Elias as Fong struggles to get on the gas early.
Bobby gets that thing a little bit loose, but you know, you're talking about Gagne. The thing is, Greg, that what number 1 does here, what Cameron Beaubier does, is he puts so much pressure on you early to keep up with him and even try to keep up with him. But once the race distance starts to take its toll midway through, he's able to sustain. And it's a word I use a lot. Sustainability over laps is going to be a very important key on a very hot day like this. And you can see the two right now, attack Yamahas out in front, are able to kind of go with each other. So what, for me, when I look at what Jake Gagne needs to do is try to stay with Cameron obviously for as long as he can, and then try to look at it with his crew later about where his tires started going off, where he felt like he couldn't sustain pace. Because right now on new rubber, we can see Gagne is trying really hard to go with Cameron.
You can see the top 6 in your picture. In 7th place is Josh Herron, Hannah.
Yeah, we know Josh has been chasing some electrical issues all weekend. It turns out the ECU start sequence was not enabled, but the team was able to figure that out in time for this morning's session, and Josh was finally able to string together enough laps to give the team the feedback they needed to prepare him for this race.
On his back foot all weekend, but the Shybe Racing BMW rider doing a good job of it, working this 2nd lap of this race. And we have seen Josh Herron do some amazing things here at Road Atlanta over the years.
No, there's no question. And what Josh really wants to be able to do is just go put a bunch of laps together. The poor guy hasn't really got to do that this weekend, and we know he's so much better than what he has shown. So it looks like we got a red flag on track, Greg. I can see that off down into turn 1. So we'll have to see where this is going to be. It's probably going to be over in the turn 6, 7 area, 5 maybe.
Red flag means that race stops. There's an incident out on the race course that's dangerous, so they're going to red flag this, stop it, and that means riders will go back to their pit stalls on hot pit lane while MotoAmerica takes a look at the situation to get this thing sorted out. There's a variety of things that can happen, Jason, so we'll try to sort this out.
Yeah, let's have a look. This is turn 7. It's going to be coming out of turn 7. It's Danilo Lewis, I believe, Greg.
It sure is.
So, and it's right ahead of Ashton Yates. So, yep, it was.
Yeah, Danilo Lewis, the 94.
Glad to see him up and okay. And you know, you get on the power so early on the exit of turn 7 there, and it can do just that. It can kind of buck you up out of the edge of off the edge of the tire, out of the seat. So,
yeah, Lewis out of Sao Paulo, Brazil, on the ProComps racing team. That's a BMW S1000RR. So we're looking to see if there was any type of
fluid or
anything on the racetrack that they're going to have to clean up on this one. I guess, Jason, a lap at full speed, 124.4 for Cameron Beaubier on that lap number 2. So we're going to step away for a moment. We're going to get this sorted out and be back to Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta in a moment.
Never fails. Every time Roger Hayden exits the booth, the red flag comes out, and he's down there in the paddock. I'm up here watching this, and Danilo Lewis had that hard get off out of 7, so the red flag is being brought out. And very much like we saw in the race yesterday, will we have a complete restart, and will they deduct laps or will they not? Again, this will be the opportunity for them to add fuel and do those things. Same thing with the tires. That's going to be up to Dunlop to make that decision, but the tire warmer's going back on. You see Tony Elias there and Bobby Fong. Actually, they can do a little debrief and maybe check and see, how their bike is handling up till this point. But it looked like a darn near a repeat of yesterday. Cameron Beaubier and Jake Gagne kind of separating themselves just a little bit, about a second ahead at least of Matt Skoltz. So, yeah, the gap was 1.4, second and a half. So Cameron Beaubier had a half a second advantage on Gagne. Gagne about another second and a half on Matt Skoltz. Kyle Wyman was in there. Bobby Fong, Tony Elias, Josh Herron up to 7th in that. David Anthony, Ozzie Davis, we talked about trying to keep that perfect season going as far as races complete. Cam Peterson in that top 10. Curious to see if Cam had gotten that bike like he wanted it. 127.22, his fastest lap. But unfortunately, the red flag having to come out for Danilo Lewis, and it is a high speed, or coming onto that high speed straightaway. And the question was that Greg and Jason asked before we went to break was there a reason that bike high-sided, or is there any fluid out on the ground, because that thing did high-side and chuck him over the front. Got about 2 minutes till we'll send it back over to the boys, but Jay Gagne getting a little breath. And as Roger Hayden had said to me earlier, you're out there riding. It's when you come off the track, that's when you get hot. And Tony giving the thumbs up. He's all good. He looks ready to go. No hard breathing from him out there. Kyle Wyman was impressive. Not too far behind Matt Skoltz, about a second the last time they came across the stripe. So even with that full like World Superbike type motor that he had, that lesser one's doing its job right now. Looks pretty fast. I know he'd like to have a bigger caliber bullet. As they take Danilo Lewis's bike off of the track, the BMW rider out of Sao Paulo, Brazil. Again, in the States, typically they come here, they stay here. The 94 finished in 10th yesterday aboard that Pro Comps Racing BMW, and we'll have to see if we can get him back at pit race in less than a week's time. There's Josh Hayes talking to his rider. That's the rider coach for Matt Skoltz. He said, yep, you did good. You got in there tight. They were pulling you a little bit. Let's see if we can find it more this next time. I'm showing 17 laps to go on our tally board here, but only 2 laps complete. I think often in AMA racing, if you haven't completed 3 laps, they do a complete restart. Again, everything I say is officially unofficial, but usually I think it's 3 laps complete. Anything less than that, they would generally do a complete restart, although they can reduce the laps if they want. We'll have to find out that in just a moment, but everybody's going to be heading back to their bike, getting their lids on, and we'll find out the official word here very shortly. We're in a red flag situation. MotoAmerica Superbikes here, the HONOS Superbikes at Road Atlanta.
Today's race coverage has been brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
Welcome back to MotoAmerica Superbikes at Road Atlanta. HONOS Superbike class under red flag conditions after we got about a lap and a half of all of our competitors in. It was Danilo Lewis who had an incident in turn number 7. But let's get down to Jamie Howe, who's working pit lane right now. Jamie?
Greg, yesterday in one of the qualifying sessions, Bobby Fong had an incident, forced him off of the motorcycle. He injured his fingers. He learned in race number 1 he could only go about 4 laps comfortably. You did 2 laps there. You were able to advance from 6th to 5th. How much more comfortable are you today?
I'm just trying to block out, thinking I've got injured or anything, and I'm just going to give it my all, and, we'll see what happens, but I'm going to give her hell no matter what.
Your team made the decision to switch from the extra soft, a little bit of a harder compound, to the super soft. What did you notice in those opening laps?
It definitely has a little more grip when I release the brakes, but I don't know. I don't have a good evaluation yet, so we'll see a little bit later in the race.
We'll see how it unfolds. Let's go down to Hannah.
After some overheating issues for the KWR Ducati team yesterday, they made the decision to swap the engine. Late last night they were here working. And they told me something really interesting about what exactly it takes to swap the Ducati engine. Essentially, the engine acts as a stress member, so the swing arm is bolted to the as well as the front end frame, where a Superbike, the inline, just be dropped out. So it's definitely a much more complicated process and took them a lot longer. But they are confident that they did a great job getting that bike motor up, and they are ready to go.
All right, thanks. For those of you that may have seen or heard Hannah drop out a little bit, what she's talking about is that the engine is actually used where they bolt the swing arm right onto the engine, so it's used as a stress member in the design of that motorcycle. And so it's quite a task. It's not like you would with, say, a Suzuki or a Yamaha. It's got a little bit more into it than that.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful, beautiful machine if you get to get over there and have a look at that and see what they've done. So we're having a look here. Looks like ambulance is just out on track, and Donald Lewis is in the back of that ambulance. So he'll be headed back for a little check over here at the medical center.
And the crew making sure that the racetrack is raceable. So they're going to clean up that incident. So we heard that that Lewis was up after that incident, so he's going to be heading back in this direction, which will give us an idea of what MotoAmerica will do for this race start. Jason, my assumption is, based off of history with MotoAmerica, that we would go back to the original grid positions, and it will be reduced from 19 laps down to 14 laps in this race due to time. And it is confirmed original grid positions like I just mentioned. And let's get down to Jamie, who's down with Jake Gagne.
Before the start of the race, Jake said they had a couple tricks up their sleeve to get a good start. Started fourth, you ended up second before that red flag came out. Whatever you did, is it repeatable when we get back to racing?
Yeah, we got to get another start like that. You know, we got a good start yesterday, a good start just then, and now we got to try to make it 3 for 3. So, yeah, try to get off a good start on that second row. Cam's really going good, and we'll see what we can do. It's going to be a hot one out there again, but it's a little greasy, a little fun, but we're going to have a good time, and we'll see if we can't fight up there with those guys.
Track temperature is nearly identical to what it was yesterday, teetering right at 110 degrees Fahrenheit. What is that like as the rider?
It's just greasy. It's tough. You know, there's a little bit less grip than when we rode early in this morning. We had a little bit more grip out there. It gets a little greasy, especially after a few laps. So we only made it 2 laps out there, but it'll get tougher and tougher as the race go on. So see what this TAC Monster Energy Yamaha can do.
Jake Gagne, calm, cool, and collected, Greg.
Jason, explain what feeling greasy means.
Yeah, it means that, you know, you can just feel the bike and everything moving up underneath you from the time you crack the throttle on. Even you can be off throttle. I've heard a couple of the riders this weekend talking about being off throttle, going down through the fast right-hander turn 4 in the middle of the S's and feeling like the bike is backing in and around on them. So, you know, that's the greasy feeling that these guys are feeling.
More from Road Atlanta when we come back. Here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, HONOS Superbikes have already taken to the racetrack for their sighting lap. As you can see, Cameron Beaubier, after the Jackrabbit start he had, played right into his hands exactly the way he wanted it. But Jason, race starts are so critical in HONOS Superbike. Right part of your screen is a replay. Now look at Cameron Beaubier moving over to his right. Why is he going to do that?
Well, because he's got track position. He's got a really nice start, and so he's just going to kind of gently move over to the right to prevent anybody else from coming up underneath him. The last thing you want to do when you get down to turn 1 is be surprised by somebody running it up the inside of you as you're tipping in. So, you know, it's very, very much something that you see every weekend in racing. If you get a kind of jump on your row, you could be in the 3rd row. If you get a jump on your row, you'll start to move over and to protect the track position that you have. So that's what you saw Cameron doing, and in doing so, it actually created a lane for his teammate Jake Gagne to go down the left side. So in a way, because Gagne is starting right behind him in that 4th position, by Cameron continuing to move over, it created that lane for Gagne to slide into 2nd, get up behind his teammate, and that's how those two went up the hill.
If you're wondering about tire selection or tire choice or anything that happens during a red flag with tires, since Dunlop is the provider for tires here in MotoAmerica, there are no tire changes allowed unless deemed by Dunlop. So these are the same that they started from the first race start, and then the cool down lap, and now the sighting lap, and now the warm-up lap, and we're scheduled for 14 laps for this race restart. So there's not an advantage, Jason, that anyone gets if they can out-budget someone else in terms of tires on the motorcycle for this race. Let's check in with Jamie Howe.
mentioned that Bobby Fong and his team made the choice to go to that softer front tire to get a little bit of extra grip, keep him more comfortable. But the other rider that is also on that tire is Matthew Schultz. Now, he was also on that tire yesterday, and what his crew chief Ed Sullivan told me was they didn't see a whole lot of wear, even with the track temperature what it's at. They got just enough grip. Today, they're hoping to take a little bit more advantage of that grip.
Yeah, that's really critical.
Yeah, and you know, Matthew got that great start that we were hoping he would get, and he kind of solidified himself there in that third spot, and you know, he's going to be looking for that same jump again. I mean, there's all these guys, you know, there's so many things that you think about as a rider when you come up to the grid of the guys that you're riding around, the guys you're racing with, you know, who to kind of get, you can get close to in a turn one and this and that. But I'm sure a lot of these guys wouldn't mind seeing Cameron just get a little bit of a rough start, you know, so they could get up front and set some pace. But this guy is just so good and on top of his game right now that he's just so hard to beat.
Front row made up of 2 Yamahas and a Suzuki. Can Tony Elias gather it up? Time to go racing. Race 2 restart here at Road Atlanta. Can Cameron Beaubier get the start he's looking for a second time? Oh, he got another great launch. Tony Elias looked like he was pretty good too.
I
up
think
the
Tony
inside.
might lead it into turn 1 by the look of the start that he got. Let's see, Greg. It's gonna be Elias leading the way. Oh, he goes a little bit wide though. Cam sneaky just kind of cuts it back up underneath him. Let's see if Tony can hold on to that second spot. He will as they get to the top. Cam got into the top of the hill really fast, and a little bit too fast almost, and almost got in the grass. But look at Greg, he's already opening up that lead.
So Cameron Beaubier leads Tony Elias, M4X Star Suzuki number 24, and then it's Jake Gagne, and then the number 11 of Matthew Schultz, with Bobby Fong in tow and Kyle Wyman back there.
You want to look at Gagne. Gagne's riding around the outside of Tony Elias as they roll into turn 6. I mean, Tony doesn't look comfortable getting that bike turned from side to side. You could see how much of a gap they had already pulled on him down through the S's, and Gagne saw that, rode around the outside of Tony as they went into turn 6.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Jake Gagne because the start he had in the first one, he was a lot closer to Cameron Beaubier. Now Beaubier is not even going to feel a draft or anyone around him as Gagne goes deep on the brakes into turn number 10. And I'm sure for a moment he's thinking, oh boy, is Tony Elias going to be there? Kyle Wyman, number 33, with Josh Herron right behind him on the number 2.
Yeah, it looked like he slid up underneath Herron as they went down into turn 10. So Kyle didn't get the start that he got in the first one either. And just behind them, you can see Cam Peterson and then David Anthony just behind them as well. So those two guys were locked in together a little bit yesterday. So first lap through, Beaubier, Gagne, Elias. Top 3, then we have Schultz, Fong, Wyman, Herron, Cam Peterson, Dave Anthony, and Corey Alexander running out the top 10. But see, this is what happens. You see how easy and simple he goes through those S's? Hardly any lean angle, straight lines everything. He commits very early to get over that paint in the last right-hander before he heads down the hill. And just everything's so simple for this guy. And you know, he's probably going to come right out of the box here and fire off some low to mid 24 or high 24 just to get that first lap out of the way. But he's already opened up 1 second on the first lap, and now it's probably closer to 2 seconds, Greg, already.
27-year-old Cameron Beaubier and the Monster Energy Attack Performance Yamaha out of Roseville, California, here under the sun of Northeast Georgia, having his way with the rest of the field. We've seen Cameron do this before. He's not usually prone to making mistakes, but he can. Into turn 10, left part of your screen, replay on the right.
Yeah, right part of your screen there. They were just showing the repass there, or the pass of Kyle Wyman on Josh Herron as he went into 10. So we'll see if those guys can kind of get on the back end of these guys. Now, Gagne is really doing everything he can, Greg, to go with these guys. You can see Matthew Schultz there. He's got through, as has Bobby Fong on Tony Elias. 24-5. So 24-5 right off the bat for Cam Beaubier, then a 25 flat. So looking at what he qualified at, Greg, that's a 24.2 that he qualified at. So he's only 0.3 off, even in this searing heat.
I was in the transporter this morning talking to Richard Stamboli, crew chief and team owner for Cameron Beaubier. And while I was speaking with Richard, he was working on a new spring for the rear end of Cameron Beaubier's Yamaha R1 to get Cam a little bit more grip when it does get greasier. And this morning it netted him a 123.9 in warm-up. So we know that Beaubier has got a torrid pace.
Yeah.
And this guy, though, I think really getting used to the M4X Star Suzuki setup of the motorcycle, working with his crew, Tony Elias, number 24. they've really got some work
Yeah,
to do.
well, he got a great start today, and that's going to be the highlight for him so far, because he doesn't like seeing these guys just roll by him and walk away like they have. Josh Herron has got back through on Kyle Wyman as you see them go down through this fast kink into turn 10. Both these guys are trying to keep in touch there, get in behind Tony Elias.
So Josh Herron, get on the gas, and you can see the rear end of that motorcycle spinning up, causing a little bit of movement on Josh Herron. Again, we talked about at the top of the show, Shy-B Racing, electrical problems all weekend, not a lot of laps with Josh Herron in this one. Kyle Wyman, a different motor, more stock motor. Jason, the story is with Kyle Wyman, the 33, and his team on the one KWR Ducati team, when they went out for practice on Friday, the way that the geometry was set up on the motorcycle, the front tire rubbed a hole in the radiator. It was causing a leak. It caused the engine to overheat. They tried to run it the rest of the weekend, and it was causing overheating problems the rest of the weekend. He had to pull off the track yesterday, and that team was here till 12:30 putting that new motor in. So Kyle Wyman with a motorcycle that's somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 horsepower under where he was yesterday.
Where he would normally be, and I even hear that they're might be headed back to the shop to try to build another, almost like another motor or a backup motor, so he has it for Pittsburgh next week. So they've got a long week ahead of them. Josh Herron, though, you got to take your hat off to the guy. He's not done that many laps, as we have documented already. He's had some electrical issues. We saw him yesterday actually pushing his bike backwards to back down pit lane with the hopes of starting from pit lane. He did that, only did about 3 laps. So it's good to see him get some laps under his belt. And by the way, Greg, rolling pretty well. 26-2 his last time through. So he's literally probably, he obviously knows the track really well, but he's kind of learning the idiosyncrasies of this bike, because it's probably the quickest he's gone all weekend on it.
Cameron Beaubier, so impressive, just so rhythmic here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Jake Gagne goes by in second spot as we notch back to this battle 4-6 between Herron and Wyman. Jamie.
You just go back to Herron real quick. Under those red flag conditions, when he brought that BMW in, the team did one more look over just to confirm everything was still good from their fixes after the race yesterday. They said that bike is pretty solid underneath them now.
Yeah, one thing that the BMW has always had in all of its configuration is a strong motor. And in addition, this year that Shy-B Racing put on was that swing arm that you see holding that rear wheel on, and that's been a bit of a learning curve, but not too much. Steve Shy-B telling me that they have a very good window in how this motor, in which this motorcycle operates optimally. So the electrical problem was really about fine-tuning this motorcycle. It was the laps that they needed to give Josh Herron to continue to fine-tune the setup of this motorcycle, and that's where they sit right now.
Pretty impressed with Tony right now. He's not letting these two guys go, and he's really good in the last sector of this track, all down through here, up over the top. It just seems like where Elias is struggling right now, just as in the switchbacks, and back and forth at the top of the S's from turn 2 down through. He struggles a little bit in that first sector. Matthew Skoltz being kept honest right now by Bobby Fong, and of course it was nice seeing that interview that Jamie did with Bobby. He didn't really lead into how much pain he could be in, and but we know he's got some problems with his right hand.
Yeah,
and, right?
I mean, adding to that, Jason, the number 50, Bobby Fong, M4X Star Suzuki, is in a lot more pain than he let on. I talked to him. It's basically the right side. It's his hand, and it's also his arm, his elbow, and his knee. And so where you can see Bobby Fong getting a little out of shape there, Jason. Where Bobby said his knee was hurting the most was when he was kind of in a squat position, and where it hurts him the most on the racetrack is going over the crest of these hills. So as we get to turn 5, this section right here as they exit out of 5 is where it really hurt him, over the turn 8 as well, and underneath the Fox Factory Bridge heading down into turn number 12.
Well, you're loading your legs a lot when you go around this racetrack, a lot, Greg, because you're going uphill. You've got crests that you got to go up over the top. You got curbs in some areas that you're jumping, so you're weighting your legs and your foot pegs an awful lot. So if you're struggling with any kind of, especially a fresh injury like he had, that's definitely going to be a pain for him.
Josh Herron struggling with the rear Dunlop already. You can see it spinning up out of turn 7. He had a look at Kyle Wyman, who got a great drive. Side by side they go as they head to turn 10. And Wyman's going to have the position deep on the brakes.
Man, that was close.
Wow, that was so close. So Wyman's got position on Josh Herron. That'll move him up to 6th.
Now we're going to be able to see if Josh can go along with Kyle here. These guys are both lapping just a little bit off of what that battle for podium up in front of them. You can see the three guys up in the top of your screen, Skoltz, Fong, and Elias going ahead of them. And it looks like they're about, what, Greg, 4 seconds, 5 seconds behind that battle. So we'll see if they can make any inroads to that.
Yeah, looking at the speed difference, you know, the Ducati of Kyle Wyman was right in line with the Yamahas and Suzukis in front of him yesterday, but 174 at our trap versus, say, 180 by Bobby Fong in a draft. So that's a little deficit, but top speed isn't everything here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, but it certainly helps. Left part of your screen, number 32, Jake Gagne. There's a big moment. And the motocrosser.
So we go back to what I said before. It's the sustainability. When you start having a tire going off that early, you know, we haven't got to see much of Cam, but we know how hard Jake's riding right now, and he's 4 seconds back, so he can still see his teammate up the road on these straightaways, and he just wants to keep the hammer down, and he has to, because these three guys are not letting up. They're doing about the same exact times right now as Jake Gagne is. 25.2 for Beaubier, but these guys are all in the 25.9s to 25.8s, meaning Skoltz, Fong, Elias, and Jake Gagne just ahead of these three.
Matthew Skoltz on the gas, up under the Fox Factory Bridge, down into turn number 12, starting to eke away from Bobby Fong. Bobby said he was good for a couple of laps. The team worked this morning on the ergonomics of the motorcycle for Bobby on his M4 X-Star Suzuki, Jason, to try to make it more comfortable for him with his aching injuries.
Yeah, and it's tough when you have a big crash like he had yesterday and down in turn 1, and you know, it was a long crash for him because he was slid on the right side of his body for quite a long time and then tumbled a bit. So and then you got to come and wrestle one of these bikes around in this kind of heat as well. So you can see here, like, what I want you to pay attention to here is you see how Tony's a little bit out of the screen right now, like in the sense that he falls back quite a ways in those S's. But you watch how much he claws back here in 6, 7, and then at the end of the lap, Tony will be right back on the back of these guys when he gets down to the last couple of corners.
Yeah, Tony Elias, number 24. Rider going by right there. Easy to tell in that M4 X-Star Suzuki because he's got that bright yellow paint to Bobby Fong's orange paint on the helmet and the motorcycle. Over turn 8, a big wheelie hill. Not easy when you're on a full-blown superbike like we have in the HONOS Superbike class. And this is such a downhill run and so hard on the brakes. Matthew Skoltz feeling like he has a bit of an advantage on the brakes because of his size, his height. He's able to scooch back and put more weight on the rear end of the motorcycle to keep. These brakes are so strong, Jason, that if someone snatched the brakes hard, the rear end of the motorcycle could come flying right over the top of their head.
Yeah, and if you saw there how good Bobby went through 10A and 10B, Bobby Fong went through there very well. Matthew got in there just a little bit deep, so Bobby closed a little bit of time on him in between those two corners. And you know, it's always fun when you watch two bikes, two different manufacturers, and see where one bike has a little bit of an advantage over another. And you can see these guys curb hopping all the way down through here, pretty equal when those two go through there.
Cameron Beaubier all by himself out front, 4.9 second lead over Jake Gagne at the moment. Last time by a 125.5. Fastest lap of the race so far in this one goes to Cam Beaubier on lap 2 at a 124.5, and that's exactly what Cam was trying to do. Just get out there, throw down a lap time to create a gap, and now it's all about managing that lead. You know, we looked at Cameron yesterday, Jason, in the race, and he did kind of the same thing, and we thought, wow, he's just in control, he's enjoying himself. But when he got done, post-race interview, he said it was a really difficult race for him.
Yeah, he wants these guys to think it's really hard for him, but I feel like it's really easy for him because he just doesn't ever seem to put a wheel wrong. If he needs that extra time and he's got it in the tank, I mean, he's half a second quicker today than the next best, so he's just got that little bit extra. And I think that when you look at the amount of time between first and third and fifth, you know, he's just got that time over all these guys right now, and he doesn't ever really look like he's out of shape or doing anything crazy to do it.
Fourth place, Bobby Fong, M4 X-Star Suzuki, just one lap ago set the fastest lap of his race, a 125.472. The Fong is keeping the pressure on number 11, Matthew Skoltz, on that Westby Racing Yamaha. This would be so impressive if Bobby Fong could go deeper into this race and still be there. You could see using all the racetrack and off for a moment, not the optimal line by any stretch. And Jason, when they go through that turn 2 section too, I've noticed that Skoltz has dropped the rear wheel off a couple of times in the dirt, one thing for Bobby Fong is you don't want to take a rock in the radiator.
No, that's exactly right. That's a great point because that's happened here before where you'll end up catching a rock from somebody else who's just ran off, and in this Georgia clay too. So that gets kicked up in front of you. Here you go, Dave Anthony and Cam Peterson. Cam has had a really bummer weekend, to be honest with you, and he's kind of had some brake issues and things, and it's really nice to see him doing what he is doing right now. He's gone awful quick, 26.8 on a super stock spec 1000. So what else can you tell us, Jamie?
Just checked in with Cam Peterson's crew chief, Melissa Paris, after that red flag, and when Cam Peterson brought that number 45 to pit lane and stopped it, after those 2 laps, he already had brake fade. So with 4 laps remaining in this race, he certainly doesn't have everything he needs and all the confidence in that braking.
Let's talk about brake fade, Jason. What does Jamie mean when she talks about brake fade?
And when you have these brakes and they start coming closer and closer to the bar, or they get very soft, as a rider you develop such a feel and such a sensitivity of how much brake pressure you should be putting on the lever and the amount of slowdown that is taking. And when you don't have exactly what you want, that brake fade can just ruin your confidence. And we've seen that this weekend. Now, hearing that report from Jamie and knowing that we've got 4 laps to go, this is probably the most laps that Cameron has done in this time range. Cam Peterson, where it's been able to be sustainable for him as well. 127.7 that last time by. So he's living in the 27s, and he got down into the 26s, which is as fast as he's gone all weekend.
Looking at this battle between Matthew Schultz, number 11, number 50, Bobby Fong. Jason, you've been in this position before where you have been injured, but what does it do to your mentality at this point? Do you feel pain when you're this close to a podium position?
You have a tendency to forget about it a little bit, and you think about all the work that your team and you've done to get here, and you kind of just try to suck it up a little bit, Greg, in a way where you think to yourself, okay, 4 more laps, that's nothing. And when you look at it like it's 4.5 minutes of the rest of your life, it's not really a lot of time. So you just kind of suck it up and you do your best to try to get through it the best you can, and the pain dissipates a little bit almost. Obviously, depending on the level of injury or the level of pain that you're in, that can be different. But Bobby right now is showing that he's able to run in the spot that he's at and still give Matthew a lot of trouble.
Let's get to Hannah. What do you have on Bobby?
Yeah, JP, you were mentioning that he's really hurting this weekend, but I talked to him about his hand. It's visibly a little swollen on that outside pinky knuckle, but Bobby said regardless of his physical condition, he's willing to ride to the limit for the entirety of this race and put it out of his mind. So you're exactly right, Jason.
Bobby the Bulldog, I keep telling you. Want to give you an update on Danilo Lewis, who caused the red flag earlier. He's responsive, and he's on his way to the hospital. That's good news.
Great news. Good to hear that. Yeah, you know, the thing is that when you ride injured, they always say beware of the injured dog, and you know, the thing is Bobby, after, like I said yesterday, after what I saw from him at Pittsburgh last year when he had that massive crash, Greg, in the race 1, I believe it was, in 600,
where he gutted it out,
and then the next day he comes and he lost by half a wheel length, I think, the second day to his teammate Sean Dillon Kelly. So, you know, that was real pain that he was in last year. Today is going to be different because he's on 1,000, so you're going to have different parts of your body getting stressed, and it's a different type of track. But what I saw him go through last year, you know, he's doing a tremendous job today anyways.
Cameron Beaubier leads from Jake Gagne, and Matthew Schultz only 2.4 seconds behind Gagne. There's the number 1 plate. Beaubier, lap traffic, Jeffrey Perk to 31 in between himself and Jake Gagne. Schultz right now is trying to put his head down and get away from Bobby Fong. And it seems like that last half of the last lap was working for him. But Beaubier looking as effortless and precise as he always does. With 2 laps to go in this one, Cameron Beaubier is the class of the field.
Pretty impressive by Gagne. He's only 3.9 up, you know, like you say, 3.9 up. It's gonna go back a little bit here. He got held up a little down in the S's, but I mean, to only be 3.9 back with 3 to go, I think, you know, and I know Cam's pacing it. I know Cam's looking at things, and if you look at the lap times, Cameron got held up as well. So that last lap by, there was almost an 0.8 of a second gain for Gagne over Cameron Beaubier there. So it does balance itself out, but he's getting closer.
Yeah, and for Jake Gagne, it can't be stressed enough that it had been since 2015 since he's won a race, and it's been a while since he's been on really top-level equipment, and so he continues to just build confidence with each lap.
And I think Matthew was some 16 seconds back yesterday, and he's only 6.7 back right now on the Westby bike. So the fact that Matthew Schultz is only 6.7 as well, they've definitely closed the gap a little bit to this guy today.
White flag flies, final lap for Cameron Beaubier. 12 more corners to navigate to do the double. Jake Gagne trying to stay as close as he can to capitalize if anything goes wrong with Beaubier. Schultz now a little bit of a gap between himself and Bobby Fong, meaning about 0.6 of a second. Not much. Bobby Fong keeping himself in a position to try to pounce on Matthew Schultz. But how impressive is Cameron Beaubier? 4-time national champion in the HONOS Superbike class. Showed up this year on this Evolution Team Monster Energy Attack Performance Yamaha, and everything has been clicking. There's Schultz, Fong. Right now, he is not within striking distance, but he's not going to give up.
He just didn't quite have that last little push that he needed, did Bobby, to get up there alongside Matthew for this race. And it's like he's been able to stay there, but not really do much with it.
Will it be another Yamaha sweep here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta? Down the back straightaway comes Cameron Beaubier through the kink. And then it's that dramatic drop down the hill on the binders through turns 10A and then 10B up under the bridge. Cameron Beaubier has to have a smile underneath his helmet as he has not put a wheel wrong the entire race. The final corner to navigate for Cameron Beaubier through turn 12. And here comes Cameron Beaubier, a double winner here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. And he does it by 2.5 seconds over his teammate Jake Gagne.
Really good ride for Jake Gagne, for all of the guys. I mean, really, Matthew Schultz, 6.1 back, 7 seconds back. And I know our race was a little shorter, obviously, than it was yesterday, but all these guys have definitely stepped up today. And wasn't it like, I think you said yesterday Tony was 1.8 seconds off lap to lap, so they've closed that even down a little bit to just a little over a second. But Jake Gagne today, really impressive job for him, only being 2.5 back. You see Cam Peterson come across the line. Good to see Cam leave here today. He had problems this morning in the Superstock 1000 race, so he's gonna be able to go to Pittsburgh with a little bit of confidence, hopefully after that round.
And a little bit of prize money too for Cameron Peterson, Corey Alexander. That always helps the effort here in MotoAmerica Superbike racing. So it's Cameron Beaubier to Jake Gagne. Matthew Schultz, another Yamaha sweep here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. And then the M4 X-Star Suzuki pair of Bobby Fong and Tony Elias. Kyle Wyman in 6th, Josh Herron in 7th, David Anthony in 8th, Cameron Peterson and Corey Alexander. So congratulations to Cameron Beaubier as he enjoys his cool down lap. And you can see he's in no rush to get back there. The fans here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta cheering on Cameron Beaubier and his 2.5 second victory as riders stream by to give him congratulations. Cameron having a look over his shoulder, a little bit of goon riding going on, having some fun on this cool down lap. So Jason, now I think our vision turns to who's going to step up, who's going to challenge Cameron Beaubier as we go to some distinctly different racetracks. Pit race coming up, not a lot of long straightaways, a lot of twists and turns where Cameron seems to be dialed in. Confirmation of your race 2 results. Beaubier, Gagne, Schultz, Fong, Elias, Wyman, Herron. Good job in 7th spot. I think Herron will look at that and say, I suffered a little bit with the rear tire grip about midway through the race. David Anthony in 8th spot. And Cam Peterson in top 9. Now for Cameron Beaubier in the HONOS Superbike class, 19 points, another 5 over Jake Gagne. Gagne's still there though, he's keeping him honest.
No, he definitely is. Obviously Bobby there in 3rd, Matthew Schultz, Kyle Wyman 5th, Herron 6th, Anthony, Tony Elias, and Max Flinders rounding out your top 9.
And I mentioned before, we're going to pit race different than the Ridge in August, New Jersey, Barber. I mean, are there any places where you look at Cameron Beaubier right now and say there's no weaknesses in his riding?
No
He's
weaknesses.
Really good at all these tracks. We know that he went to the Ridge with his team and tested, and he was fast there as well. So he's been to Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where some riders haven't been, where we're going to be October 9th through the 10th. Incredible run by the #1 plate, Cameron Beaubier. as Cameron's going to roll into victory lane, where he'll be sharing the podium with his teammate Jake Gagne and Matthew Schultz. Congratulations all around from the team. In another extremely warm day here in Georgia. I'm sure Cameron's going to enjoy getting off the bike and getting a nice cold towel around his neck. So not extreme celebrations, as I'm sure these riders are.
Everybody just wants to find a little cold pool somewhere, you know. That's what it's like at days like this.
They're definitely worn out after this race weekend. Whereas looking forward to ahead to a few days to Pittsburgh International Race Complex, it looks like temperature's going to be a little bit cooler. Mid-80s. By Sunday, maybe around this temperature, 89 degrees. And thankfully, the weather held off here in Georgia.
We were thinking it was going to rain some today, and I'm glad that held off. And you're right, Greg. When we go to Pittsburgh, it's going to be a little bit cooler. Some of the guys I've talked to are driving up there, just going to go on a little road trip. Some people are hanging out here for a day or so and then flying up. Let's get down to Hannah Lopa down in Winter Circle.
Well, despite the extremely hot conditions out here, Cameron Beaubier pulled off double wins here at Road Atlanta. Cam, take us through the restart of that race.
Yeah, man, I was pretty bummed that I got red flagged there at the beginning because I felt like I got a good start. I saw 0.3 on my board, and I knew I just had to run for my life as fast as Jake went this morning, and same with Schulte. So just got to give it a hats off to my Monster Energy attack performance guys. Yamaha, my R1 was working awesome today. Yeah, I just put my head down, and I think Tony squeezed up the inside. Well, yeah, because he got the whole shot, and I squeezed up the inside of him, and I knew that if Jake had to deal with Tony because he's really hard to pass, I just had to go. So I put my head down and rode as hard as I could for that first half of the race, and I felt really good. My bike felt really good today, a little bit better than yesterday, just with the small changes we made. So hats off to Richard, 6D, Alpine Stars, and Man Above for keeping me safe, all the fans for coming out, and I'm just having fun right now.
Congratulations on another victory, Cameron Beaubier.
Well, Jason, pit race, Pittsburgh International Race Complex, as we call it, pit race is going to be very interesting because there's going to be a lot of head scratching in the next 5 days as we roll out on Friday in Beaver, Pennsylvania, out on the racetrack. And so people have got to start figuring out, how do we race up Cameron Beaubier? Well, it's been an exciting weekend of race action here from Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. We certainly hope you enjoy the coverage. For Hannah Lopa, Jamie Howe, and Jason Pridmore, I am Greg White. Coming up next, horse racing from Saratoga Live. You don't want to miss that. Thanks for joining us here for our MotoAmerica coverage, and we'll see you in 6 days' time.